Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, if you're new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and also some good insight on things related to prison, and I'm going to share some with y'all today. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP. Now, let's get into it. Now, I put up a story a while ago, and then I put it up again. The name of that story is called He Damn Near Lost His Cakes. And what that story is about, I was in the county jail, and these two dudes got into it. And one dude was basically attempting to sexually assault another individual. I'd got a lot of comments about why why that type of stuff happens in prison and this and that. Specifically, I got a comment from a guy the other day, and I'll just shout him out as AQ. And so he was asking me, he was inquiring, he was asking me, hey, Chill, why do the blacks allow that type of thing to happen? He said, no disrespect, but if we found out someone was like that in my circle, so I assumed he was a Southsider, he said we would run the dude up out of there. Why don't the blacks get rid of those dudes? And that was a great question. And once again, I have to point out that unfortunately, when it comes to the blacks, and even though this happened in a Crip tank, we are all not under one umbrella. And of course, when you don't have organization, you're definitely going to have chaos, especially when you're dealing with the criminal element. So now let's keep in mind, right, that even though this was the Crip tank, you have a lot of Crip gangs who beef with other Crip gangs, and there is no unity, there is no peace. And so when I entered that county jail, I went to what was known as the Crip tank. It was 3A. Now, they also had another tank that was called 5A, and I believe that people in that tank, they were Crips who had came down from state prison on other charges or whatever. So maybe since those guys had already been to the pen, they had a little organization. They may have had more structure up in that tank. I never went up in there, so I don't know. But my experiences, when I came into 3A, and like I said, I was locked up in Riverside County. For those of y'all who may not know, it's probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour east of Los Angeles County. I got arrested and came up in there in 1994. So when I came up into this Crip tank, even though I was a Crip, the vibes that I got was automatically confrontational. People hitting me up, asking me, what's up, man? Where you from? Where you from? We call that either hitting them up or you banging on somebody. You trying to see where that dude is from and find out if he's from a hood where your hood is beefing with. So like I said, and even though this was in Riverside County, the tank was predominantly Los Angeles Crips. And so I'm not in there, like I told you guys, maybe about a day or two, I get into a fight, I get cut on my back. So I say all that to say, with the lack of organization, you're definitely gonna have sometimes you're definitely gonna have different things going on from month to month. Maybe something may be allowed in this month, and then maybe 2 months later, you have some other people who come up in there. They have a different mindset. They have a different mentality, and they're not going to go for this or not going to go for that. So it's a big difference when you're not structured, when you're not organized like some of the other prison gangs in California, when you have a certain policy that's going to be enforced wherever those people are at. And so for you guys who didn't see the situation, and I'm gonna just give you my analysis and breakdown of what happened. Okay, so I believe I called the dude Stank in the story, man. Stank, we were locked in our cell, and we was getting ready to be let out for day room. We were locked up longer than normal due to it being a guard up in the cell who was in the tower controlling the buttons. The guard was basically a jerk. And then this particular cell this particular tank that I was in was also known for a whole bunch of fights. So he finally told us, okay, I'm gonna let you guys out. Don't be fighting. Come out and shut your doors. So, and have your door shut in 2 minutes or whatever, something like that. So basically, he let everybody out. He kept telling this one guy, man, shut your door, hurry up, shut your door. I'm going to lock everybody up. Now, this was like on a Friday or a Saturday night when we like to come out and chill, watch BET, all that type of stuff. So everybody is telling this dude, hey, man, lock your door, lock your door. He's taking his sweet time, you know. So he finally comes out the cell, then he stands. He's happened to be on the second tier. Then he stands and looks over everybody like, yeah, what? I did that. And he still hasn't locked his door. So you got the jerk on the microphone saying, okay, I'm going to lock you guys up. So the dude finally comes out, closes his door. Now, another Crip goes and approaches the dude and told him, hey, man, basically what you done was disrespectful. Me and you, we going to have to get down tomorrow. So now when the Crip who told him that started walking away, the young dude who didn't want to shut his door to begin with, he dope fiend the other dude, basically sucker punched him. And so they had a brief fight. Of course, the guard seen it. We got locked up or whatever. Had to go up in the cell. So the next day, they bring him back later that night. The dude who got sucker punched is laughing. He's telling him, yeah, man, I'm going to get you tomorrow. Don't even worry about it. So basically, now the dude who got sucker punched, he happened to be from Compton. The other dude who sucker punched him, he ran with another car. And so now you already have two opposing cars. So now the dude who did the sucker punching, he had a couple homies there. Now, his homies, I believe, one or two of them had been to the pen before, you know. So they had a little idea about structure. So anyway, they basically told him, you had to go fight this dude since you sucker punched him. Now, the dude who got sucker punched, he had been to YA. And for those of you guys who are familiar with YA, that's actually CYA, California Youth Authority. It's basically like a prison for juveniles. And I believe you can be in that prison up to the age of 25. Now, I've never been there, but from what I've heard about it, males preying on other males is something that runs rampant. It's something that happens frequently. So obviously this dude had been to YA, the guy who got sucker punched, and that was something that he done, I guess, or whatever. So at some point, those guys go in the cell, they start fighting. You hear the rumbling, the fighting. When people are in the cell, then suddenly it goes quiet. Then suddenly the guy who did the sucker punching, we hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, you know, screaming, hollering for one of his other homeboys. So me and two other guys, we go up there to see what was going on. Another guy, I believe he had been to the pen before. Once he peeked in the cell and saw that the guy who got sucker punched had the other guy flat on his back, he was choking him, and he had his boxers pulled down. Now see, when sometimes in the county jail, when we would go to fight, we'd take all we had on was a jumpsuit anyway. We'd take our jumpsuit off and fight in our boxers, so people can't be grabbing you by the jumpsuit and slinging you, I guess. So the dude who did the sucker punching was already reluctant to go in the cell with the dude because he was he was thin. You know, the guy outweighed him. The dude who did the sucker punching probably, I would say, if I had to say, he was about 5'9", 5'10", maybe 145, 50 pounds, maybe 155 at the most. The guy he sucker punched him probably was maybe about 5'9", 5'10", probably about 185 pounds, you know, thick, muscular type dude. So the muscular type dude, like I said, got him on the ground. He's choking him, and he's got his boxers pulled down. So the guy who went to the window with me told him, hey, man, don't do that, man. Stall that dude out. Don't do that. Don't do that. So they basically talked the dude about doing that. I think they got the door open, went up in there and basically stopped the dude from doing that. But like I said, it just all depends sometimes on who may be there when a particular circumstance happens. Now, the question that AQ asked me was, okay, well, hey, man, why didn't you guys run this dude off? You know, now that you guys know that this dude is a bandit, why didn't you guys run the dude off? Which was an extremely good question. You know, you had a lot of dudes up in there who disagreed, but at the same time, when you're from different cars or you're from different sets and your set don't maybe function with this other Crip set, then it's really not necessarily your duty to try to get rid of this dude or whatever. And then also the dude who, and while I'm not excusing him, the dude who had got sucker punched and was trying to have the dude's boxers down, he had been up in there 2 or 3 times. Never before that moment had I seen him or heard about him sexually preying on someone else. I think, and this is just something that I think, right? I think that once he was sucker punched, he felt disrespected and violated, that another Crip wouldn't give him a head up fade. So in my opinion, what he was going to do was try to humiliate him as much as possible and take his manhood. That's just my opinion on the situation right there. Still not excusing what he tried to do. Now keep in mind, at this time, I'd never been to the pen. When I came in, like I said, when I came into this tank, even though I was a Crip and this was a Crip tank, you know, the vibes I got from dudes up in there was confrontational. Now, at that point in time, I had left the tank and came back, so it wasn't that time, but I'm talking about the first time that I came up in there, you know. Other Crips didn't embrace me just because I was a Crip, you know. Actually, no one even told me the structure, you know, and I'm talking about in terms of when you can't, because like I say, in that particular tank, it was an all black tank. So it wasn't until I got to prison that I learned that, you know, you can't fight a Hispanic or a white person, you know, or it's going to be an all out race war. You know, everybody's going to fight. So that's why when I tell you guys the stories about I'm in the county jail, I'm running around, I'm calling dudes out, I'm fighting, nobody explained all that stuff to me. And so that's something else that happens sometimes when you have so much division. You know, everybody doesn't ride under one umbrella. You know, I'm sure, you know, had I been Hispanic and I went in there, they was going to tell me, hey man, these are the do's and don'ts that we can do. These are the things that you can do as a Hispanic riding with the Southern Hispanics. But like I said, due to being black, due to it being so many different, it's so much division, so many different cars and factions, nobody told me that up in there. And so in my experience, anytime a person is sexually preyed on it, now this is just my experience, you know, because by the time I got to the penitentiary in 1996, I didn't see a lot of dudes being sexually preyed on, sexually violated, but I've heard others talk about that on their journeys. Yes, you know, they did see things like that, especially some guys who may have went to prison just 3-4 years before me. So it all depends on what prison you happen to go to and who happened to be there. But in my experience, what I seen a couple of times, or not necessarily seen with my own eyes, but when I was on the yard and I heard about dudes who were either sexually preyed upon or sexually tried, they happened to be non-affiliates. And I remember a time when I was in Ironwood, you had a couple of gang members run up in a dude's cell, take his watch, take a few other items that he had, and then also one of the dudes, so the story goes, made the dude who had the watch give him a hand job. Now, why somebody would want that, I don't know, but that's what happened, you know. And so none of those dudes who ran up in there and took the watch, none of they homeboys, you know, approached them about running them off the yard. You know, maybe it was because this dude was a non-affiliate and he didn't have no homies to back him up. And so I think that sometimes that's the main problem right there, that dudes, you know, who are preyed upon, they're not part of a gang, they don't have anybody to back them, and the other people at times feel it's not my business, you know. And that's sad, because at the end of the day, we're still all black. But, you know, like I said earlier at the start of the video, when you have a lack of structure, you have a lack of organization, you have a lack of rules that's being enforced, especially in a criminal element, and a place that is so you have so many people who prey on other people, things are gonna happen at times, you know. Is it something that a lot of people agree with? I definitely think that it's not. But you do also have people who may tend to think that's cool, and that's something that that that's okay to do. And so the main question is this: why don't all the blacks come together and run people like that off the yard? And I think, like I said, I think it's definitely due to the division, and also it all depends on, and it's sad, but it all depends on who is the individual that's being preyed upon. I've never seen a gang member who is in good standings get preyed upon, because California is so divided into different racial entities, and then it breaks down into smaller gang entities. I've never seen a person who is in good standings with his card or his race be sexually preyed upon, because of course then all his homeboys, his friends, they're gonna come to his aid. But sometimes, unfortunately, it's always the lone and sometimes physically weak person who has to endure that type of pressure, I guess. So yeah, I'm just looking down here at my little notes that I wanted to hit you guys with about this topic, because I definitely believe that this is a good topic. Back to the dude in the county jail, the two dudes who got into it. So eventually, what happened was, the dude who was almost preyed upon, his homeboys ended up making him leave the tank. Back then they had a rule that if two dudes got into a fight and one dude lost, if the winner of the fight wanted him to leave the tank, he had to leave. But I think the more bigger reason was because the dude who was almost assaulted, now he was running around. He was bent, as he should have been, on getting revenge. We had some vending machines that sold magic shave, some stuff you can mix up and put on your hair and stuff, and he was trying to mix that up and throw it in the other dude's face. Then I think he was over there at one point trying to get him some razors and make him a weapon or something like that. And so the dude who was trying to do the assault and got at his homeboys was like, man, you better get your homeboy, for I hurt him real bad or whatever. And like I said, at that time I had never been to the pen, so I didn't know about all the rules, the structure. Different cars, people from different hoods function together, and these dudes don't function with those dudes and stuff like that. At that point, I still thought it was every man to himself, because nobody had took the time until much later to fill me in. Like I said, it wasn't until I got to prison that I was filled in on how some things go. And so sometimes it's sad, but that's just the way things go. Just the lack of unity on the street. See, when you have different gangs going at it on the street, when they come to prison, if there is no structure enforced, how are we to expect suddenly these dudes who are out on the street trying to kill each other to suddenly have compassion and care about each other in ways that they weren't taught? And unfortunately, in this gang banging life, it's condoned to be violent at times, to be ruthless, and sometimes, when there's no checks and balances of these acts, that's how these things sometimes get out of control. And so like I told you guys, when I came in there, I got into the fight with the dude. Now, when I end up getting cut on my back, so I had knocked the dude down. Now I got him up against the door. I'm slapping him. But now I guess he may have had a dude that was his cousin or nephew or play nephew. I don't know. He walked past the door. He thought that I was in there stomping the dude. And so this is what I heard or found out later. Supposedly is one of the reasons why he ran in there and he cut me on the back. But like I said, when I came in there, nobody told me, hey man, you guys go up in there. If you knock somebody down, you let him get up and all this type of stuff. In my mind, Crips kill Crips. You know what I'm saying? So why should I have any unity or compassion for this dude when I'm sitting in there minding my business and this dude makes jokes about me, which was okay. And then later on, when I'm on the phone, he asked me, how long you gonna be on the phone? I said, I'm gonna be on in a minute, Loke, which is a common word that's used among Crips. And all of a sudden, this dude get upset. So in my mind, this dude is intentionally trying to to mess with me. You know what I'm saying? And so I had no qualms about slapping this dude while he was on the ground, or even kicking him if I'd have had some shoes, just to be 100, just to be 100, man. Because like I said, once again, nobody had filled me in on the rules. Later on, somebody told me, hey, when Crips go in there and they fight, if you knock the dude down or whatever, you're supposed to get up and let him go head up. Or let the dude get up so you guys can go head up. You're supposed to give him a fair fight. You're supposed to give a dude a fair fight. The same dude, though, who will try to kill you on the streets, but now since you guys are incarcerated and there's no guns up in here, you're supposed to give him a fair fight. And I didn't understand the logic of that. But so hopefully that happens to answer the basic question of why blacks sometimes don't come together and get rid of these dudes who are seen as sexual predators. Not to say that it doesn't happen, because I've heard of situations where, yes, it did happen. But like I said, it all depends on who the dude is getting preyed upon. Who's the dude that's being preyed upon, There have been times and instances I've seen certain dudes who were non-affiliates, dudes come to their aid, but not necessarily in a sexual assault, just period, when, they feel that somebody is unfairly picking on them. So it just all depends basically on who's on that yard at the time and the ideology that person has about whatever's going on, whether it's sexually preying on a person, on robbing a person who's non-affiliate or whatever. So it just all depends, man. But anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.